The smug smile on Adira's face made my stomach twist as she slid the paper across her pristine glass desk. "We're restructuring the department budget," she said, her voice smooth as antifreeze. "Everyone needs to make sacrifices. We're offering you a 60% reduction in compensation, but we're hoping you'll see the value in remaining part of our family." I stared at the number on the page. Not a typo. They wanted to drop my $85,000 salary to $34,000. 7 years of my life building their empire, and this was my reward. "This takes effect next month," Adira continued, tapping her French-tipped nail on the signature line. "We'll need your decision by Friday." I didn't flinch, didn't cry, didn't scream. I simply nodded, knowing exactly what they were doing. 3 executives watched from the corner, their eyes gleaming with the satisfaction of wolves who'd cornered their prey. "I understand," I said, voice steady. "I'll review this and get back to you." Walking out of that glass-walled conference room felt like moving through invisible smoke. 7 years of late nights. 7 years of chemical burns on my hands. 7 years of revolutionary formulations that had transformed their failing cleaning supply company into an industry leader worth millions. And now, they thought they had me trapped. I'm Verity, by the way, 36 years old, single mom to Tess, my 12-year-old daughter who's battling an autoimmune condition that insurance only partially covers. The medical bills arrive weekly like clockwork. They knew this. They'd sent flowers once when she was hospitalized last year, cheap ones that wilted within a day. Before I go any further with this story, could you take a few seconds to tell me in the comments where you're watching from? I'm curious how far this reaches. And honestly, knowing there are people listening helps me get through telling this. Also, maybe hit subscribe if you want to hear more stories about corporate warfare from someone who's lived it. So there I was, walking to my car, holding a paper that basically said, "We know you're desperate, so we can pay you whatever we want." I'd seen it coming in small ways, being excluded from meetings I'd previously attended, my lab access restricted to certain hours, questions about my documentation process. What they didn't know was that I'd been waiting for this moment, preparing for it actually. Let me back up. I'm a chemist, a good one. I specialized in industrial cleaning solutions with minimal environmental impact. When I joined PureChem 7 years ago, they were struggling, a small company with outdated products and dwindling clients. Within my first year, I developed a formula that cut through industrial grime at half the concentration of competitors' products. By year 3, my innovations had tripled their client base. By year 5, they'd opened 2 new manufacturing facilities. Tess got sick in year 6. The parade of specialists and tests drained my savings, even with insurance. I asked for a raise, pointing to the company's growth. They offered me a wellness bonus instead, a one-time payment that covered about 2 months of medical bills. That same week, I overheard Adira telling someone at the company holiday party that my division had generated 40% of the company's annual revenue. She wore a new diamond necklace that probably cost more than my annual salary. That night, something shifted inside me. I went home and pulled out my employment contract. "Mom, why are you still awake?" Tess had asked, finding me at 2 a.m. surrounded by papers at our kitchen table. "Just work stuff, honey. Go back to sleep." "Is everything okay? Are you worried about money again?" 12 years old and already understanding financial anxiety. That wasn't right. "Everything's going to be fine," I told her. And for the first time in months, I actually believed it. See, I'd found something interesting in my contract. The intellectual property clause that gave PureChem ownership of my work had specific parameters. All inventions, discoveries, and formulations created using company facilities and materials during standard business hours shall be the sole property of PureChem Industries. During standard business hours, using company facilities and materials. For years, I'd kept a home lab. Nothing fancy, just basic equipment I'd accumulated over time. When inspiration struck at night, or when I was waiting at Tess's medical appointments, I'd jot down ideas. On weekends, I'd test variations in my garage. My most groundbreaking work, the formulations that had truly transformed PureChem's fortune, had actually been perfected at home, then recreated at work. And I had documentation, meticulous dated journal entries, videos of my home experiments, receipts for materials I'd purchased myself. I'd inadvertently created a loophole big enough to drive a truck through. The day after receiving my restructuring paperwork, I went to work as usual, smiled at colleagues, ran my scheduled tests. But during lunch, I slipped out to meet with Quentin, a patent attorney I'd been consulting with for 3 months. "Everything's ready," he confirmed. "The provisional patents were filed last week. As soon as you give the word, we move forward with the full applications. 3 formulations, my 3 best, including the newest one that PureChem hadn't even seen yet, a cleaning agent that worked effectively in cold water, cutting energy costs by up to 30%. A game changer for their industrial clients." For the next week, I played the part of the defeated employee. I asked Adira for a few more days to consider their offer. I mentioned my daughter's medical needs, watching her feign sympathy while mentally calculating how much they'd save by slashing my salary. "We value your contribution, Verity," she said, voice dripping with artificial concern. "But business is business." Behind the scenes, I was orchestrating something they'd never see coming. I finalized my patent applications. I met with Zane, the research director at Novachem, Purechem's largest competitor. "Your work is exceptional," he said after reviewing my portfolio, "and your situation at Purechem is unfortunate. We'd be prepared to offer you a position as senior research director. Starting salary would be $175,000, plus research budget and team. Double my current salary, triple what they were trying to cut me down to." "I'm interested," I told him, "but there's something else we need to discuss first." The following Tuesday, the day before my deadline to accept Purechem's insulting offer, I prepared my counterattack. I dressed carefully in a dark green dress that made me feel powerful. I styled my hair neatly. I even wore the pearl earrings my father had given me before he died. "You look pretty, Mom," Tess said as I dropped her at school. "Like you're ready to fight somebody." Smart kid. I walked into Purechem's headquarters at precisely 9:30 in the morning. The receptionist, who'd watched me trudge in before dawn for 7 years, barely acknowledged me. I rode the elevator to the executive floor where I was rarely invited. Adira's assistant tried to stop me. "She's in a meeting." I walked past her, straight into the conference room where Adira sat with the executive team. 8 people looked up, annoyed at the interruption. "Verity," Adira said sharply, "we're in the middle of something." "This will only take a minute," I replied, my voice calm. I approached her chair and placed a thick envelope on the table in front of her. "What's this?" she asked, not bothering to open it. "Your acceptance of our offer?" "Not exactly," I said. "It's a licensing agreement." Her perfectly sculpted eyebrows pulled together. "A what?" "A licensing agreement for the continued use of my proprietary formulations, specifically formulas XR7, PT19, and the new CW40. The room went silent. Decker, the legal director, was the first to recover. "Your formulations," he said with a dismissive laugh, "those belong to Purechem. Your employment contract clearly only covers inventions created using company facilities during business hours." I finished for him. "I have comprehensive documentation proving these formulations were developed in my home laboratory, using my own equipment and materials outside of standard business hours." I placed a second envelope on the table. "These are copies of my patent applications, already filed, already approved provisionally." Adira's face drained of color as she finally opened the envelope and scanned the contents. The licensing agreement was simple. Purechem could continue using my formulations for a monthly fee of $4,250 per formula. Exactly what they'd planned to cut from my monthly salary. "This is absurd," she sputtered. "You can't just—" "I can, and I have," I said quietly. "You have 2 options. You can license my formulations at the stated rate, or you can reformulate your entire product line. I'm guessing the latter would cost millions in R&D and manufacturing changes, not to mention potential client loss during transition." The executives exchanged panicked glances. They knew I was right. My formulations were the backbone of their recent success. You won't get away with this, Decker threatened. We'll fight you in court. You could, I agreed. But discovery would be interesting. All those emails about how to push me out while retaining my work? The conversations about my daughter's medical situation making me financially vulnerable? I've kept records of those too. That was a bluff. I didn't have those emails. But judging by their expressions, they existed. Adira stood up, her chair scraping harshly against the floor. Everyone out, she ordered. Except Verity. The room emptied quickly. When we were alone, her mask dropped completely. Do you have any idea what you've done? She hissed. We made you. We gave you opportunities when no one else would. I laughed softly. Is that the version you tell yourself? I created over $40 million in value for this company while you paid me less than 1% of that. I worked weekends, holidays, through my daughter's hospital stays, and you knew you could exploit that dedication. So this is what? Revenge? No, I said, meeting her gaze steadily. This is business, just like my pay cut was business. Her eyes narrowed. What's to stop us from taking these patents from you? We have resources you can't imagine. Several things. First, I've already accepted a position with Novachem as research director. Double my current salary, by the way. They're very excited about my cold water formula that you haven't even seen yet. Her jaw actually dropped. You're going to our competitor? Second, I continued as if she hadn't spoken. My new employment contract with them acknowledges my ownership of these existing patents, with a very aggressive legal defense clause should anyone challenge them. I reached into my bag and pulled out my PureChem badge, placing it beside the licensing agreement. You have until the end of the week to decide about the licensing. After that, the rate increases. Oh, and I've already spoken to Weston and Javier from the board. They're concerned about the potential disruption to the business and seemed quite interested in how this situation developed. I believe they're calling an emergency board meeting this afternoon. Weston and Javier were the two most powerful board members, and I knew they'd been questioning some of Adira's decisions lately. Her face contorted with fury. You won't work in this industry again. I'll make sure of it. I smiled, feeling genuinely calm for the first time in years. Actually, I think I'll do just fine. Better than fine. I turned to leave, then paused at the door. By the way, Tess is starting a new treatment next month. Thanks to my new position, I can finally afford it without worry. So in a strange way, I should thank you for that insulting offer. It finally pushed me to know my worth. I walked out of Pareshim's headquarters for the last time, feeling the weight of 7 years lift from my shoulders. My phone buzzed with a text from Zane. Contract ready when you are. Team excited to meet you Monday. That afternoon, I picked Tess up early from school. Why aren't you at work? She asked, surprised to see me. I got a new job, I told her. A better one. And I think it's time we celebrated. Does this mean we can get a dog now? She asked immediately, making me laugh. You know what? I think it does. 2 days later, Pareshim's legal team reached out to accept my licensing terms. 1 week after that, Adira was removed as division director following the board's investigation. And 3 weeks later, Tess started her new treatment with me by her side, no longer afraid to take time off when she needed me. Sometimes the most devastating revolution is the one no one sees coming, the quiet one. The one that happens while you're smiling and nodding and making them believe you have no choice but to accept their terms. My first day at Novachem felt surreal. Zane greeted me in the lobby, not his office, a small gesture that spoke volumes. He introduced me to the entire research team as the innovator who's going to help us reshape the market. No hiding in a basement lab. No downplaying my contributions. We've set up your office and lab according to your specifications, he said, opening a door to reveal a space twice the size of my old one. And these are the researchers who'll be working with you. 4 people stood waiting, 2 women and 2 men, all with advanced degrees and specialties complementing mine. My team. Not me supporting someone else's team. My team. I reviewed your cold water formula proposal, said one of them, Petra. The molecular architecture is brilliant. I have some thoughts on stabilization if you're open to collaboration. Collaboration, not competition. Not taking credit. Actual scientific partnership. I kept waiting for the catch, the hidden agenda. There wasn't one. That evening, when I picked up Tess from my neighbor's house, I was still floating. "You look different," Tess said, studying my face. "Different how?" "I don't know, like when we went to the ocean that time and you kicked off your shoes and ran into the waves. That kind of different. Kids see everything." We stopped at an animal shelter on the way home and met a one-eared shepherd mix named Birdie, who'd been there for months. She leaned against Tess's leg and looked up at us with hopeful amber eyes. We were goners. "Is this really happening?" Tess whispered as we filled out the adoption paperwork. "This is really happening," I confirmed. New job, new dog, new chapter. That night, with Birdie curled at the foot of Tess's bed, I allowed myself to feel something I'd suppressed for years. Pride. Not just in outsmarting PureChem, but in finally standing up for my worth. My phone lit up with a text from Quentin, my patent attorney. "Board investigation expanding. Rumors of financial review. You started an avalanche." I hadn't intended to bring down PureChem just to secure what was rightfully mine. But systems built on exploitation have fragile foundations. Push in the right spot, and the cracks spread. Over the next few weeks, I settled into my role at Novachem. My new team and I refined the cold water formula for industrial applications, and Zane fast-tracked it for production. Meanwhile, Tess started her new treatment plan, a biologic that insurance had deemed experimental, but that my new salary and benefits package covered. I thought that would be the end of the PureChem chapter. I was wrong. 6 weeks after I left, I received a call from an unfamiliar number while working in my lab. "Is this Verity Harlow?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes, who's calling?" "My name is Imara. I'm a junior chemist at PureChem." My guard instantly rose. "How did you get my number?" "Through Lena in HR. Look, I'm not calling for them. I'm calling because we've all heard what happened, with your patents and the licensing. And now they're trying to recreate your formulations to avoid paying you." I stepped away from my team, lowering my voice. "That doesn't surprise me, but they'll find it difficult." "That's just it," Amara continued. "Decker's pressuring the lab to reverse engineer your work. He's got us working double shifts. When someone mentioned that might violate your patents, he said, and I quote, 'We just need to change it enough to get around the legal details.'" My blood simmered. "Why are you telling me this?" A pause. "Because it's wrong, and because I heard what they did to you. How they tried to cut your salary knowing about your daughter's medical needs." Another pause. "My sister has lupus. I know what those bills look like." After we hung up, I called Quentin immediately. He wasn't surprised. "This is standard playbook for companies in their position," he said. "They're hoping to find a workaround that's just different enough to avoid infringement." "Can they do that?" "Possibly. Patent protection has limitations. They can't use your exact formulations, but if they modify them enough, they might create something that technically doesn't infringe." I paced my office, thinking, what about the licensing agreement they signed? It covers your specific formulations. If they create new ones, even if inspired by yours. I hung up feeling uneasy. That evening, I barely tasted dinner. Tess noticed. "Is work okay?" she asked, sharing a piece of chicken with Birdie under the table when she thought I wasn't looking. "Just a puzzle I'm trying to solve," I said. "Like a science puzzle or a people puzzle?" I smiled at her distinction. Both, actually. After she went to bed, I spread my research journals across our kitchen table. Not the official ones from PureChem, but my personal notes from all those nights working at home. I'd always approached formulation as a system, not just a collection of chemicals. There were principles underlying my work that weren't explicitly stated in the patents because they were part of my thought process. If PureChem wanted to play this game, I needed to think bigger. The next day, I requested a meeting with Zane and Novachem's legal team. I laid out what I'd learned and my concerns. "So they're trying to circumvent your patents," Zane summarized. "Predictable, but concerning." "I have a proposal," I said. "My 3 patented formulations are valuable, but they're individual solutions. What if we created something more comprehensive?" A cleaning system that integrates all three, plus new elements that work synergistically? The legal director leaned forward. You're talking about creating a moat around your intellectual property. Exactly. Something Parechem can't easily replicate because it's not just about the individual formulations anymore. It's about how they work together. Zane nodded slowly. This could be significant beyond just protecting your patents. A truly integrated cleaning system would be revolutionary for industrial clients. Reduced costs, simplified training, better environmental profile. How quickly could we develop this? The legal director asked. I glanced down at my notes. With dedicated resources. 3 months. You'll have whatever you need, Zane promised. For the next 12 weeks, I lived and breathed the integrated system concept. My team worked tirelessly, combining our expertise. We created something that wasn't just a collection of cleaning products, but a comprehensive approach to industrial maintenance. During this time, Tessa's health improved with the new treatment. Her energy returned. The dark circles under her eyes faded. She joined a science club at school and started talking about becoming a veterinarian. One evening, as I reviewed data at home, she sat across from me with her homework. Mom, can I ask you something? Always. Are you happier now? After everything that happened? I put down my pen, giving her my full attention. Why do you ask? She shrugged. Before, you always looked tired. Worried. Even when you smiled. Now you seem, I don't know, more you. Her observation struck me deeply. I had been diminished at Parechem, not just financially, but spiritually, always making myself smaller to fit their expectations. Yes, I told her honestly. I'm happier. Standing up for myself was scary, but it was right. She nodded, processing this. So sometimes the scary thing is the right thing. Sometimes, I agreed, wondering what 12-year-old dilemma prompted this philosophical turn. 2 days later, she came home with a black eye. Tess, what happened? I gasped, tilting her face to examine the bruise. Caden kept saying Lizzie couldn't join our science project because girls aren't good at chemistry. I told him that was stupid because my mom is a chemist and you're brilliant. He said I was lying. So I showed him your picture on the Novachem website, and he said you probably just mix things that men invented. I felt a flash of anger. And then? And then I punched him in the stomach, she admitted, which was the wrong choice because he's bigger than me. So he pushed me, and I fell against a desk. I pressed an ice pack to her eye, torn between parental disapproval of violence and fierce pride. Fighting isn't usually the answer, I began. I know, but sometimes the scary thing is the right thing, she quoted back to me. I couldn't argue with my own words. The next week, our integrated cleaning system was ready for field testing. We selected 3 manufacturing plants as test sites, including, at my suggestion, one that had recently dropped Purechem as their supplier. The results exceeded even our expectations. The system reduced cleaning time by 40%, lowered water usage by 60%, and improved surface longevity significantly. The client feedback was enthusiastic, bordering on euphoric. Zane called me into his office after reviewing the data. This is extraordinary, Verity, beyond what we imagined. Thank you. The team deserves most of the credit. The team you built and led, he corrected. We're fast-tracking this for full production, and the board has approved a special innovation bonus. He slid a paper across his desk. The number made me blink. This is substantial. It's proportional to the projected value this will create, he said simply. We reward innovation appropriately here. That weekend, I received another call from Imara at Parechem. They're panicking, she told me without preamble. Word's gotten out about Novachem's new cleaning system. 3 major clients have already requested meetings to learn more, and 2 have put their Purechem contracts on hold pending those discussions. How's Adira taking it? I couldn't help asking. Adira's gone. The board investigation revealed financial improprieties beyond what happened with you. Decker's interim director now, but he's flailing. The lab morale is rock bottom. They've lost 6 researchers in the past month. I felt a complicated mix of emotion satisfaction, but also sadness for the good people still trapped there. Amara, Why are you still there? A long pause. I need the job. My sister's treatments. I understood completely. Send me your resume. 2 weeks later, Imra joined my team at Novachem. Her specialized knowledge of polymer chemistry was exactly what we needed for our next project. When I introduced her to the team, the gratitude in her eyes reminded me of why this all mattered. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about creating spaces where talent was valued, where innovation was rewarded, where people could do their best work without being exploited. 3 months after launching our integrated system, Parechem approached Novachem with an acquisition offer. Zane called me into the meeting with their representatives, not Decker, but 2 board members I recognized, Weston and Javier. Verity, Weston nodded curtly. You've been busy. Just doing my job, I replied. My appropriately compensated job. Javier almost smiled. We've made serious management changes at Parechem. The board has taken a more active role. We recognize mistakes were made. The acquisition discussions were complex and continued for weeks. I was included in every meeting, my input sought and valued. Eventually, a deal was structured. Novachem would acquire Parechem, but maintain it as a separate brand focusing on different market segments. We'd like you to oversee R&D for both divisions, Zane told me after the final terms were set, with a corresponding title and compensation adjustment, of course. Director of Research and Development across both companies. Triple my original Parechem salary. Full creative control. When I told Tess about the promotion, she high-fived me so hard my palms stung. Does this mean we can get Birdie a friend? She asked immediately. I laughed. Let's see how Birdie feels about that. My first day back in the Parechem building was surreal. I walked through the lobby where I'd once been just another employee, riding the elevator to the executive floor, not as a visitor this time, but as leadership. The research team gathered in the main conference room, faces showing various degrees of nervousness and curiosity. I recognized most of them, had worked alongside them. Some had been kind. Others had been complicit in the old culture. I know there's been uncertainty, I began. Changes are coming, but they're overdue changes. This will become a place where innovation is properly valued and credited, where work-life balance isn't just a phrase in the employee handbook, where compensation reflects contribution. I saw hope cautiously blooming on many faces. Some of you knew what was happening before and said nothing. Some of you participated in it. Others were trapped in the same system I was. I'm not interested in grudges. I'm interested in building something better. After the meeting, several researchers lingered to speak with me privately. They shared stories of their own experiences, patents they'd developed that were claimed by the company, ideas that were stolen, promotions denied. The culture had been rotten far beyond my personal experience. This is going to take time to fix, I told Zane later. We have time, he assured me, and the right person leading the effort. 1 year after I'd been handed that insulting salary reduction, I sat in my new office overlooking the city. On my desk stood a framed photo of Tess and our now 2 dogs. Beside it was a small plaque the team had given me. The quietest revolutions are the most profound. Purechem's toxic leadership was gone, their exploitative practices dismantled. In their place, we'd built research divisions that operated on principles of fairness, credit, and appropriate reward. Our integrated cleaning system had revolutionized the industry, with competitors scrambling to catch up. Tess's health continued to improve. The medical bills no longer kept me awake at night. She'd finished 7th grade with honors in science. My phone buzzed with a text from Amara. Client presentation went perfectly. They're signing the contract tomorrow. Another buzz. Zane. Board approved your proposal for the Research Scholarship Program. A program specifically designed to support scientists with family caregiving responsibilities. My first initiative as director. Sometimes I think about that moment in Adira's office, when she slid that paper across to me with that smug smile. She thought she was witnessing my defeat. Instead, she was witnessing the spark that would ultimately transform not just my life, but an entire company culture. The revolution wasn't in the licensing agreement I crafted, or even in the patents I secured. It was in the moment I decided I wouldn't accept less than I was worth. That my daughter deserved to see her mother valued properly. That quiet compliance wasn't the only option. If you're watching this and something in my story resonates with you, remember, your worth isn't determined by people who benefit from underpaying you. Your talents aren't diminished when others take credit. And sometimes, the most powerful response to disrespect isn't outrage, but strategic clarity. If my story meant something to you, please hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment letting me know if you've ever had to stand up for your worth in your career. I read every comment, and your experiences matter to me. This community has been incredibly supportive, and sharing these stories helps all of us recognize when we need to stand our ground. And if you're in a situation like I was, undervalued, exploited, trapped, to know that your moment of revolution might look different than mine, but it's waiting for you to claim it. Sometimes the quietest revolutions truly are the most devastating.